everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Espresso with Matt. I am here with Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru. Very excited to have Jeff here with us today. Jeff, how are you doing today? Good to see you.
I'm doing just great. Thank you very much. You caught me in I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on a Monday morning, so I'm good, doing good.
Ready to go, ready to roll for a good week this week. Really appreciate it. Now, Jeff, the first question we have to ask, we ask it right off the bat, is what we got going on in the coffee mug today.
There it is, and you can see that I'm even advertising here. I've got Be Effective on LinkedIn, and I've got I'm a teacher. What's your superpower on the other side of this special mug? But the coffee inside is rather pedestrian. It's basically just Timmy Hortons. I'm sure you've heard of Tim Hortons.
Yeah, absolutely.
We buy Timmy Hortons and we brew it at home.
Yeah.
So
Great donuts. I think this might be a very controversial take. I prefer their donuts to Dunkin' Donuts. Just put it out there. But first branded mug we've seen on LinkedIn. On Espresso with Matt. So
okay.
very cool. So I got my pretty standard double espresso here.
Ooh,
Ready to roll. Yeah, a little bit of a get going for the week. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
Jeff.
drinking a big strong symbol.
Well, love the mug, love the branded mug. That's really awesome. And Jeff, let's kind of just jump right into it because I think before we even get started, I just want to say a big thank you to Jeff. And Jeff is one of the people that I've been really fortunate to meet over the last few months, really involving myself more on LinkedIn. And Jeff has really helped me a lot in developing my LinkedIn presence and learning much more about this platform. And I'm thrilled you're on the show to talk about that and share that knowledge with others. But Jeff, for everyone out there, tell me a little bit about your journey, about what you do, and a little bit about your passions here.
Okay, well, as I said, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower? Which is why on the video I've actually got the boy in blue, the last son of Krypton, behind me back here, because the way things got started is that when I retired 17 years ago, I decided that I wanted to use a tool to continue to network with other professionals and stay in touch. And I asked my network, "What's the best tool to do that with?" And every single person said, "Oh, you got to get on LinkedIn. You got to." Now I was already on LinkedIn, but I hadn't used it for like 3 or 4 years after I got on it because I had a job and that's what it was for. If you were going to be on LinkedIn, you were going to be looking for a job, right? So, I decided that the best thing for me to do to learn how to use LinkedIn was to start teaching it to other people, which again, I've been a teacher most of my adult life, and I love teaching. I love seeing that light bulb go on above people's heads. I love hearing things like what you just said. You helped me understand this thing that I couldn't get my hands around before. So that's what I started doing. And as I went through that process, I think the key here is that I didn't call myself the LinkedIn guru. My network did. Okay. As a matter of fact, it was one of the seminars that I did for a good friend. I was doing these on a fairly regular basis, and a good friend comes up to me afterwards and he shakes his finger at me and he goes, "Jeff, you know what? You're a real guru at this." And I went, "Huh, guru? Yeah, I kind of like the sound of that." So I started using it, and when I looked it up, and you look up guru in the dictionary, and it says teacher. I'm going, "Holy cow, that's me!" So that's what I've been doing now for the last 17 years. So the nice part about being retired is I don't have to charge for it. Every single one of my seminars has been free, and over 17 years, that accounts for over 1,000 different seminars and over 20,000 different actual students. So you're one of over 20,000 different students that actually has hopefully benefited from my knowledge of LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And there's so much stuff to get into right there. I mean, first of all, I love the fact that someone called you a guru. I think you have to be called a guru. You can't nominate yourself. You have to kind of be bestowed. So, I'm glad you took that journey. And you talk about this idea that, I was on LinkedIn too. And I was in HR for 10 years and I would use LinkedIn really every once in a while. I post, hey, we're looking for this job or, we're open this job. My recruiters were on LinkedIn Recruiter. I didn't do anything on my LinkedIn. And I think I might have shared the story. I became a vice president And a few years ago, as vice president, one of the people I really respected in marketing came up to me, and I was so busy in the hospital, running the hospital. He said, "Matt, as an executive, you have to work on your online presence, and we expect you to do more." And I'm like, "Okay, once I'm done running the hospital, I can get to that." But it was such a great point. At the point, I didn't really hear it then, but I heard it more now. Building your brand and building, your network is so tied to leadership, you know, and LinkedIn and your brand is it's much more than just a job search engine, you know. And I want to talk a little about that with you because what I found over the last few months is the wealth of knowledge and great people I've been meeting, and it really enhances my skill set. Let me talk a little about the three P's, which I want to get into, that really
Okay.
helped me kind of look at, my presence on LinkedIn. So talk about that a little bit about those three P's and what those mean and how we break it down a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'll try to keep this fairly brief because I think it's really more of, I've been using this approach, the three P's approach to LinkedIn, practically ever since I got on LinkedIn and started actually teaching it to people. Um, the three P's briefly are, the first P is profile, the second P is people, and the third P is participate. Okay. So briefly, profile. Just as you said, Matt, your profile is your story. Your profile is your branded story. It's out there. I mean, where else on earth can you, except for maybe you build your own website, okay? But where else can you network with a billion other professionals in the world, okay, and put your story out there for them to see? And it's not like a resume. It's so much more than just a resume. Okay, it's graphics, it's videos, it's sound, it's anything you want that you want to put out there, you can brand yourself with. So that's again why look. That's why I showed up today in a blue Pinpoint Oxford shirt. That's a part of my brand. Okay, and that's what you're going to see on my profile. You're going to see me, with Superman behind me and me in a shirt, that matches that blue as close as I can every single time. So that profile is where all that happens. And there's so much out there that has to do with how you do things, the value that you add to other people. That's the key. I mean, it's not like you should be singing that, there's an old joke about, if you see somebody and they're doing it wrong on LinkedIn, it sounds like they're singing an opera. Me. Okay. It's all about them. It's not about what they do for others. Okay. So that's where your profile really can stand out. Now, once you've got your story straight, we can move on to the second P. And that second P is people. And when I say people, I mean connecting with people. I mean building a network, not a database. Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, and I'm going to quote one of my good friends. Can I say names on this?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, one of my good friends from the United Kingdom gave me a quote that says, "Your connections don't have to add up; they just have to count." Okay. I give credit to Angus Grady for that one because that just speaks to me so much about how you should approach LinkedIn from a people perspective, right? It's not about, it's not about connecting with every single person that can fog a mirror. It's about connecting with every single person that you are going to build an ongoing relationship with. And that's how you and I found one another. Okay, is because we saw each other, we started talking, and then we connected afterwards. Connection is not the end of the process, it's the beginning of the process, right? So, and again, there's really, it is again about people. The great thing about it, especially since LinkedIn still is about job search for many people, because it's still LinkedIn still gets 60% of its revenue from recruiting services.
Yeah.
So, and well, by the way, one of the things that people don't know about LinkedIn for the most part is the fact that LinkedIn's revenue last year was over $16 billion. So it's a big business. It is something that really makes a big difference. And that's why it's so important that you should be on there. And that's why it's so important. You should be connecting with people. And my advice to connect with people, that second P, is to connect with people that you know first. Okay, because they're already in your network. They'll already return your phone call. They'll already return your email. So go ahead and connect with those folks first. Then use the power of LinkedIn to take it to the next level and find the people that you need to be connected with and get connected to them through your existing network. Okay.
Yeah,
So, and that's networking at its finest. That's the way it really works, right? And
absolutely.
then the third P, participate. And there's a reason why that third P is the only verb,
Mhm.
because it denotes action. If you get out of LinkedIn what you put into LinkedIn. So the more you give LinkedIn and the more you participate on LinkedIn, the more you get back from LinkedIn. It's amazing to me the opportunities that I've had. I mean, speaking of seminars, okay, one of my seminars was a virtual seminar for 600 people in Israel about 3 years ago. That kind of opportunity came solely through LinkedIn. Now, there's no way I would ever found out about that, any other way. So the participate piece, and oh, by the way, participate doesn't mean another P post. You don't necessarily have to post. You do have to you do have to get in there and engage, though. You have to, so let's use the C in one of my C's, okay, because I talk about C's as well as P's. One of my C's that is the most important is comment on stuff. Engage in someone's conversation. I mean, this morning, as an example, I put out a post as I normally do, but I only post like once a week. Okay. Well, that one post in about 4 hours has garnered about 40 comments and the conversation going back and forth. So people have greatly done a great deal of another, philosophy that I use as far as the participation is concerned. And that participation is, here's the quote I'm talking about. And I got this one actually from a guy in Australia. Okay. Add value, not noise.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point being is that when you're going to put a comment on there, nice post is not a comment. It's two words that are nice, but they don't really mean anything. And oh, by the way, the algorithm, and we won't get too heavily into all that,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the algorithm of LinkedIn and how the AI of LinkedIn really works. But I will tell you that the LinkedIn algorithm ignores two-word posts, two-word comments. You have to give it enough of something for it to realize that there was something there for it to take it into account.
yeah.
Okay, so that
And Jeff,
I think
absolutely.
that gives you the idea of my three P's. Let's leave it at
Well,
that.
such great things in there. I think for first of all, for me, I just want to kind of talk about my journey with this because the profile piece first, what did I want to say? And that first piece of it, when you work on that, you start with your resume, you start with that as a professional brand. But as I kind of evolved over the last few months, I gave very clear that hey, there's room for personality in that profile. Now,
Yeah,
I want to keep it professional. I want to keep it authentic. Those are things I would really focused in on. And, but again, it just doesn't have to be all business. It can be the whole person. And I find the most effective profiles have a good mix of both. And, that was really helpful there. Networking is so key. And I think for me, I've been able to really connect with people from LinkedIn, whether it's a Zoom call through comments or actually meeting people in person. All these things have really been rich. And that's kind of what Espresso with Matt is. It's really kind of a next level of that. In that, look, where I worked, I worked at my hospital. I had an espresso machine in my office. I had people come to my for coffee all the time. I'd sit and chat, and people got to know. Hey, go have a coffee with Matt. He'll talk to you about that. Have an espresso with Matt. And that's pretty much what I did. Was people come to my office, have a cup of coffee, we talk. Sometimes about work, sometimes about whatever. And taking that virtually has been great. And that participation piece, which I find really powerful, is amazing to me. I can just give you one story that happened to me. I wrote an article a few months ago about ethics in HR decision making, like how you make a decision at HR, how you look at make sure it's a moral, just decision. I put together an article, and I sent it out there. A few weeks later, out of nowhere, I get this professor who teaches in Turkey, of all places, says, "I'm using your article in my HR business class." Next thing I know, I have 10 followers from this business class in Turkey. Okay. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I haven't monetized that in any type of way. I think it's cool. It's just cool thing about it. The fact that people are talking about my article in a different country, cool stuff. And so it's
It,
really fun. Yeah.
it amazes me. I mean, it brings to mind another P, and that I think that that's a perfect illustration, okay, of exactly what LinkedIn can do for people and will do, constantly. If we talked a little bit about this on our, I think, original Zoom call. If anything, COVID was obviously not necessarily very good for some businesses, right? However, if COVID had a silver lining, it actually took us virtual and we started to get global as a result of that. So if it hadn't been for COVID, I would never have, I would never have well, espresso with Matt to be sure, because that's a result of all of that being online. And I'm also now online on a fairly regular and almost daily basis with people in the UK, people in Brussels, people in Dubai, people in Australia, New Zealand. I mean, et cetera. I mean, I've actually learned how to speak Australian. Okay, if you.
So Jeff, I mean, the way you've connected with people, the way you've kind of, what do you think that's about? Why do you think people have gravitated towards your message? I mean, there's a hundred. Let's be transparent. There's thousands of places to get information about where LinkedIn is, but why have you been able to build your brand? What has been key to your success here
Oh,
in
that's
building
interesting.
LinkedIn?
I think success means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for me, success is just being able to help that one person. And those thousand seminars that I've done, I wouldn't have been able to do 1,000 of them if I did it wrong the first time, right? So you got to be doing something right. You got to be providing somebody with, again, that value. Okay. And if you provide well, is it Zig Ziglar? There's the quote about if you want to get what you want, you should give enough people enough what they want first, right? So if I do that enough, I've given somebody something, and hopefully, if they're like-minded like me, and I know you do this as well, okay, anybody that I end up having a long-term relationship with is going to pay it forward. Okay. That's a part of their personality. It's part of what they just do on a regular basis. So you're paying it forward with espresso from Matt with Matt. Okay. I'm paying it forward by doing the seminars that I do, and I'm paying it forward by putting out a weekly post, et cetera. And I think for me, it's not about marketing. It's not about sales. I mean, there are some people out here that I've eliminated all those negative aspects of the social media, because I'm not gonna, not that I haven't been pitch slapped, okay, because of the fact that, yeah, well, you connect with somebody and the very first message you get from that person is, "Hi, would you like to buy my widget?" Okay, and so that's why I don't connect with everybody. I basically have a conversation with a person beforehand. So I think people gravitate toward the way that I do things because they get the value of it, and it eliminates the noise. It does eliminate the noise of the networking piece, because there's another phrase, and I can't even remember where to give this credit. It's from a movie or something like that. You got to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. Okay. Well, I don't mind looking at a bunch of frogs, but I don't kiss on the first date. So
Yeah,
so so
it's funny you use that term, the kiss and the frogs. My old boss used to say it all the time when she described, doing that one undesirable task. She's like, "Matt, go ahead and kiss the frog and see what happens." And it's a great phrase. I love it. You know, I think what it comes down to, I think there's a need. There's so much a need out there for authentic. You know, and I think there's this polished, really polished, and other platforms, for example, like Instagram or other platforms. I didn't get into all of them. There's a very polished, kind of idealized world where the amount of clicks you get, the amount of followers you get, really that's the game. I mean, it's really about my goal is to get as many people look at that. And I see them sometimes on LinkedIn. I see, certain people I follow who their whole post platform basically is maybe posting an argument they're in with someone else, or posting an art, or like saying, this is what this person said. Here's the controversial take, like posting drama. And you know what? People get their popcorn ready. They like to see it, and they're here for the drama. And what I do appreciate about LinkedIn, well, it's still the internet, and there's still people out there. There's less of that on this platform than other platforms. Not You're not immune to it. Don't get me wrong. There's less of that, and but some people are really there for the drama and the popcorn and going there. But what I found, at least for myself, is that if you look and you put out your knowledge and you put out what could be helpful to others, so many people are willing to help, and that's amazing. The more you put out, the more you get back, and can you put out valuable posts? Can you put out valuable comments or connect with people in a certain way? It comes back to you tenfold. It really does. And
Absolutely.
that's why that's one of the takeaway message I got from you right from the beginning was the power of that.
Well, do we talk about? I mean, what you just brought to mind is another little quote, maybe this is a part of my quote unquote success as well. Is that the quote is your vibe attracts your tribe. Okay. And I think if you put that authenticity out into the world, if you put that help out into the world, people are going to want to help you back. It's just like what you were saying before. Honestly, it's not equal. I get 10 times more back what I give every single day. It's amazing to me. Yeah, because I put out one post and I get 40 people to comment on it, right? It's like, yeah, somebody's interested, and oh, by the way, that doesn't happen overnight either. Okay. I mean, if your purpose out on LinkedIn is to go viral, you're on the wrong platform. Okay. Maybe TikTok. I don't know. Try TikTok. I don't know. But they don't call it TikToks for nothing. Okay. So I just won't go there. I have found my home where I can be authentic, where I can provide value, and where people give me back more than I could ever ask for.
Yeah.
That's LinkedIn.
And by the way, the post today, one of the all-time great movies, from Twins. I love that movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I haven't watched that in a while. A lot of times in the morning when I scroll through the feed, I just save posts to comment on them later because I just don't get a chance to comment right that second. So it's definitely going to comment on that one. But just again, all-time favorite. And you use the GIFs are really great, and the images are really great in your post and getting those comments going. But you're right, and for me, sometimes I put really a lot of information or a lot of work into some of my content, and maybe I get 5 comments, but from those 5 comments or 10 likes, sometimes I get a connection that leads to another conversation that leads to another great thing. That's a meaningful connection. And I'll give you another example. Like I did an article about DE&I and HR hiring and ended up being a connection that someone commented that we ended up connecting, had a few Zoom calls. Next thing you know, I'm doing volunteer work for this person's organization, doing HR, counseling work with them. They join me as a guest. He's connected with some great people. And look, it was not a viral post, but it led to a meaningful connection. Someone who I know is a subject matter expert in the field now. I can lean on in the future. That's much worth more to me than 1,000 likes and 100 comments. And so I think again, it's what you want to get out of it,
Yeah.
and the authentic piece of it there is really so important. And Jeff, I've had some people come talk to me. I'm sure you get it every day. Hey, I lost my job. I gotta get LinkedIn, or I'm starting my career search. I gotta get LinkedIn, and where do I start? What do I do? And I kind of tell people like, personally, like just go on and do something every day, a few minutes, and work on it a little bit. What are some of the top tips you would give for people just getting started? Where would you go for information? You go from there, maybe get a little bit into some of your products you have out there for people, because you have some great resources to give out to people too.
Yeah, I think that my advice is look, the LinkedIn guru is not on LinkedIn 24/7 365, but the LinkedIn guru is open 24/7 365. My profile's there, and I now have years and years and years of content that I put out there that is free to anybody who wants to take the time to peruse through it. Okay. So I've got newsletters, I've got videos, I've got documents, I've got posts, okay, on an everyday basis. So my advice would be find somebody who is knowledgeable about it and then start learning from them. And oh, by the way, if they're open to it, ask them questions. I love to play the new game show called Stump the Guru. Okay. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I do it every day. Right. But, and literally, one of the things that I'm kind of also known for is acronyms out there on LinkedIn. So actually, I won't quote the entire thing to you, but I think if you look at the L in LinkedIn, it should be talking about learning. Okay. First of all, but you know what you just said earlier brought to mind another L. I think that is important as well. Don't get hung up on the numbers. Don't, just because your post doesn't go viral, or even if it doesn't make, it doesn't get 20 comments, whatever. Okay. The other L that you should never discount is the listeners. There are so many people out on LinkedIn that are looking and listening, but they don't necessarily engage. So you're helping a whole lot of more people than you think you're helping, just because they will see your post. They will see your post, or someone will forward it to them, et cetera. You never know where that ripple effect is going to take stuff. Okay. So keep that in mind, and don't let that ever dissuade you from not posting or not commenting, or, go there, because you are going to make a difference no matter whether you see it as a difference or not.
Absolutely. And I think by commenting and following the people that you're interested in, and the subjects you're interested in, it really helps develop your voice and your presence. And I think I told you a story a few months ago. I was in a video interview that I bombed it horrendously, and I'll leave it at that. And I said to myself, I gotta get better on making video and content. I mean, this is kind of a new topic for me. So here I started this, and it's gone well. I've enjoyed doing it. So don't be afraid to try new things out and everything like that. So I think it's really important. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. Been working with this platform for many years. You've dedicated a lot of time and energy learning this platform. What do you think? Where do you think it's going? Where are some of the things that people should be aware of? I hear some things, some trends, but curious about you. Where you think this trend of LinkedIn is going?
Yeah. Well, I think I think I'll couch this one in terms of there's some good news and there's some bad news. Okay. Um, which you want first?
Let's go. Let's go. Good news first.
All right. Well, the good news is I think it's going to be LinkedIn will continue to do more of what we've already seen that LinkedIn is starting to concentrate on. There will be more posts. There will be more people who will post. There will be more videos, especially videos. LinkedIn is in love with videos. Now, I don't do that many videos. That's okay. I substitute my graphics for videos. Okay. So and hopefully one of the trends is not more selfies. I'm sorry. I can't go there. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm old enough to be out of the selfie generation, if there is such a thing, right? And honestly, when people talk to me about selfies, I say, you know what? I'd rather beat myself with a selfie stick than take a picture with one. Okay,
Jeff, well, I have a face for radio, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing selfies either. So that being said, like it is weird because even myself, I put a picture of myself up. I noticed that post does better, and I'm like, look, I know they're not looking at me, but there's something in that algorithm that shows a picture does better than one without picture. But anyway,
pictures are better, and videos are better than pictures because videos move and videos talk, etc. So it's kind of like the picture would be the book, the video would be the movie. Okay, so there's always a difference there. But again, I think that's all good news. I think LinkedIn is going to allow us to the other thing is I think that LinkedIn will also cater to more people of being able to do their own thing. You don't have to all do it the same way. Again, I know this probably has been said about 1 billion times for each member of LinkedIn. One size does not fit all. So you do not have to do video if you don't like to do video. It's okay. Okay. but it's a balancing kind of game. I'm trading off the fact that yeah, videos do better as far as impressions is concerned. With I can still provide enough value with by doing something else, right? So again, the trend is toward images. The trend is toward video, and it will continue to do that. Okay. Now,
Bad news.
the bad news. Yes. The bad news is LinkedIn is a big business. LinkedIn has shareholders. LinkedIn must make money. LinkedIn believes that they must make money and more money every year. Okay. Well, that's kind of what shareholders like, right? Okay. So the trend that has been starting to happen within the last year or so is something that the people who are knowledgeable about LinkedIn and knowledgeable about the way these social media things kind of move is called pay to play. Okay. Now, right now, LinkedIn is still a viable free platform. And honestly, that's part of the reason I exist because I don't pay for LinkedIn. Okay. I don't work for LinkedIn. I am not associated with LinkedIn and or Microsoft in any way, shape, or form. I can tell you the truth. Okay. So therefore, I'm not paying for LinkedIn, but there is a trend there are going to be a lot more only premium features that will only show up if you actually do pay LinkedIn. And it's going to be even worse than that. There are actually at least 4 different tiers, and I won't go into the different tiers of pay for LinkedIn that there is. But the lowest tier that's out there right now, as far as cheapest is concerned, is still the career. There's a career premium package. It doesn't get you much, okay? Because LinkedIn is moving toward the higher business oriented, packages and things like that. So again, the key is that you have to understand LinkedIn well enough to get around the fact that they want you to pay to play. Okay, because LinkedIn is going to advertise. LinkedIn is going to have. I mean, you're going to, 1 out of every 5 buttons that you click on LinkedIn is going to be, oh no, you could have done this, but you got to pay us if you want to do it. Okay, that's just the way it happens, and it's going to be more of that. And to me, that's bad news because that is kind of going away from LinkedIn's original. And remember, I still said that LinkedIn makes 60% of its revenue from recruiting services. It's kind of taken away from those people who need it, the people who are in the job search, the people who provided such revenue for LinkedIn for such a long period of time. But they are now branching out and trying to come up with other and miscellaneous ways of getting people to pay for LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
the way
it'd
it's
be
going to
very
happen.
interesting to follow. It's a very interesting to follow. I really appreciate your comments on it. Jeff, you have a wealth of resources out there for everyone. Just before we get into our favorite round, the espresso round of questions, give everyone a quick summary of where to get in contact with you, where to follow you, where's some good information for that. And I'll make sure I put in some of the slides in the final product here too.
Okay, perfect. Obviously on LinkedIn. There may be a bunch of Jeff Youngs out there because that's a fairly common name, right? But there's only one LinkedIn guru. There's only one the LinkedIn guru. So you can always find me by looking up LinkedIn guru on LinkedIn. If you really want to see a bunch of my stuff across multiple kinds of platforms, because I also have a YouTube channel and that kind of stuff. Okay. If you want to see a bunch of stuff across multiple platforms, type in hashtag the LinkedIn guru in Google search, because that will bring up a whole ton of stuff. And that'll bring up my articles, that'll bring up my newsletters, that'll bring up my YouTube channel, that'll probably bring up, because I'm going to be posting about this and putting something out about this, that'll probably bring up this podcast and with Espresso with Matt. Okay. Because if you use the hashtag in your advertising of it, and I use the hashtag in my advertising of it, Google goes index, gotcha. Okay. And then start showing it to people. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Well, before we get to the espresso round, everyone, if you're interested, if you're new to LinkedIn, or if you've been on LinkedIn for a while, Jeff Young's a must follow. Absolutely great person to connect with, amazing content, and one of the most genuine, authentic voices out there to help you grow your LinkedIn profile. So with that, Jeff, our favorite round of the day, our espresso round. So we got a few questions here real quick. The first question, what is the best piece of advice you ever got over a cup of coffee?
Wow. A mentor of mine a long time ago gave me this, it's kind of all goes back to, I don't know why this has always been the same with me, but it kind of always go back to quotes that somebody gives me or says to me, and it just sticks like, like glue to me. And a mentor of mine and boss at the time, so he happened to be both at the time, we were sitting over coffee one time, and we were discussing what it took to be a success at our particular organization. And the organization at the time, to drop the name, was Ernst and Young, a small little company called Ernst and Young. Anyway, so anyway, we were talking about it, and he came up with a quote. And he said, "You know what? As your boss, I will never cause you to fail, but I will always give you the opportunity to do so." And I think that was just, it just stuck with me so much. I want to be that kind of leader. I will support my people. I will do what I can to do with people and never cause them to fail. But if you're interested in trying something new, I'll give you the shot at it, and I'll help you through it, and give you the opportunity to fail. Okay.
That's a great quote, and really, really about that idea of you know being out there trying to experiment, trying to learn as you do, and really, truly, something that really resonates with me is that look, I failed and broke things 1,000 times. That's how you learn. And the great people you work with, the great mentors in your life, will come back and say, hey, what happened there? What do you think? And and go from there, dust you off, and what great advice that was. You can go back and talk to a younger version of yourself over a cup of coffee. What advice are you giving yourself?
I would say the advice I would give myself is you have got to network, network, network. Okay. I don't, I am now known as a networker because again, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and that's what I think LinkedIn is all about. But back in the early days, I, I was more of a, what's the quote, head down, tail up, kind of person. I'm just, oh, keep your nose to that grindstone. Do not, do your job, do your job, do your job, and you'll be fine, right? Well, that kind of attitude got me downsized in '85. Okay, because and unfortunately, that part of that is that I had to get into, and I had to put, I had to pull up my big boy pants and go, okay, let's put on our networking track shoes and rush and try to find people that will help me find a job, and because I've just been downsized. So yeah, never, I guess the advice is networking is like air. You need it to survive. Okay. And you never stop breathing either, do you? So never stop networking.
That resonates so much with me. I would tell you in the last 10 years, as I got promoted, as I got more responsibility, my networking slowed down. My going to conferences slowed down. I was too busy, right? I was too busy. And I would say, oh, once I get through this one project, I'll join that group or I'll get that certification or get people that. And then you get to a point where you just network internally and you're just in your little fishbowl, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
So important. It's a mistake I made also. I think so many people make in their career. I'll never make it again. We're talking to a lot of leaders out here, and what would be a piece of advice you'd give a leader over a cup of coffee right now, if you could?
Well, I don't think this is new. I think that the advice the advice I would give, okay, would be, if you're going to be a leader, be a servant leader. Okay. It's really, again, it's back to that entire, your vibe attracts your tribe, and the more you give out, the more you get back, kind of thing. I've always found that the best leaders I've ever had, and mentors I've ever had have been servant leaders in one form or another. So it makes a difference. I mean, and I think the other thing that makes that work best is managers, for example, light a fire under people. Okay, leaders, and particularly servant leaders, light a fire in people, okay, by inspiring.
It's great advice. And I've worked with so many amazing mentors over my career, and many of them have been servant leaders. what I found very interesting when I really reflect on all the years I've been blessed to work with is how different their approaches have been and personalities have been from that tough football coach, wrestling coaches I dealt with in high school and college to people I worked with. I've worked with some of the nicest people in the world and people who would make you run a ski hill if you were too late to practice. But that servant leadership piece of it, the idea that they're doing it for the best for you,
Yeah.
it really ran true for all of them. It's such great advice, Jeff. Really great.
Yeah.
Last espresso round question. You could have a cup of coffee anywhere, anytime, any place with anyone. Who you having that cup of coffee with, Jeff?
Wow. Well, this is interesting. This is a timing question, okay? Because of the fact that last year, for the very first time, and I this is a plug, but it's not a plug for me or about me. Last year at this time in March, there was this thing in the United Kingdom called Uplift Live. Okay, I don't know whether you've heard of it or not, but it was sponsored by some great folks, and it's the only ever LinkedIn conference that's ever been done in the United Kingdom. Okay. So I wasn't able to go physically. And I'm still not able to go this year because they're doing it again. Uplift Live is doing a 2025 version as well. So my biggest wish would be is that if I could sit down and have a cup of coffee I'd have a cup of coffee with all those people that are going to Uplift Live, because there would be so many people that I know, and it would be like we've been old friends and we just never have met in real life. That's the whole point. Okay, but that would be such a blast to share in real life and actually hug those people, and actually get to be with them for a full day in real life. So if you're looking for something someplace to, by the way, I get to go this year, but I get to go because it's a streamed event as well. So I'll be there, through live streaming. But if you get a chance, please go out and find out about Uplift Live. And I'm not selling. I don't get any commission, but buy a ticket, okay? Because it's going to be worth it. You are going to learn from the absolute best people in the world as far as LinkedIn knowledge is concerned. How to do sales on LinkedIn, how to do anything you want on LinkedIn. They'll be there. There'll be 8 different speakers, and it will be worth your while. I guarantee it.
Well, Jeff, great advice today. Thank you so much for joining Espresso, Matt. I mean, taking us through some of the basics of the profile to where LinkedIn is going, all with your authentic voice and through friendship. I really appreciate it, Jeff. And I look forward to continuing to follow you, connect with you, watching your content. I've learned so much. And thank you so much for joining. Um, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. As I said, I serve at your leisure. Yeah, because it wouldn't, if it wouldn't been for LinkedIn, we'd have never had this opportunity. And I think there's an old phrase. Well, this may be because the Oscars just happened. There used to be a guy out in Hollywood that says, "You know what? We'll talk again."
Well, with that, folks, until we have the next cup, follow the LinkedIn guru on LinkedIn. Take a look at his content. Thank you all so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. Wonderful episode.